Hey audiophiles, Fernando from SkyFi Audio. Today I'm going to do something that I've been meaning to do for quite some time, which is to take a deep look at the Technics SL-1200GR2, which I've got here on my, well, on your right or your left, I'm not quite sure. That's a GR2, the newly released model, came out at the beginning of the year. Super hard to get a hold of. And next to it, it is even more difficult to get the SL-1200G. The reason I haven't done this video before is because I couldn't get two of these together in the same place. So I snuck two out of the shop. I am here in my bat cave in my home, and we're going to take a deep look. We're going to compare, first of all, we're going to see what's new in the GR2, right? This is going to be new to a lot of people. So we're going to take a deep look at the features, the drive, the motor, the plinth, and then we're going to compare it to the G, because I get so many questions every week on people trying to decide between the two. So I'm going to try to distill it down in this video. So hang in there, it's going to be probably around 30 minutes. I'm going to move these to the test bench. We're going to hook it up in the system. I've made quite a mess here at my listening room, and I'll share that with you as well. So let's dive in. Well, today we're going to cover the design and features of both of these. If you're new to Technics, I've got a ton of other resources for you. I've done a full feature review on the 1200G. I've done a review on the SL-1200C, which is the entry level of the lineup. I have put a super expensive cartridge on a 1500C to demonstrate its capabilities, and I've also done some pretty cool vibration testing to illustrate how micro vibrations are absorbed by different models from the Technics lineup. So links below for all of those videos. If you like these videos, I really appreciate your thumbs up and leaving a comment. It keeps us motivated. It keeps us continuing to bring these videos to you. So I really ask you, I noticed that a lot of you are not subscribed. More than half the people that watch the videos haven't hit the subscribe button. I'd super appreciate it. And also give us an opportunity. We're a tiny little business. It's just 3 of us in Jersey. And we move a lot of Techniques, but we absolutely love the product line, and I hope it shows in these videos. So we'd love the opportunity to supply one of these for you if you decide you want one. We have an incredible calibration process that no one else offers. As well as probably the best customer service you're going to get in the industry. So skyfiaudio.com. If you don't feel like spending 30 minutes watching this video, let me spoil it for you. If you can afford the $4,300, if it's not a huge reach, the G is absolutely the way to go. The fit, the finish, the features, the way it's built, and mostly the way you interact with it. It's just a premium product. It weighs twice as much. And the Platters is far superior, so is the plinth. Really, hands down, this is the way to go. Now, however, if you're more in the $2,300 budget, this will outperform just about anything in the market. So this could be considered more of a really nice upgrade from the SL-1500, and this could be considered downgrade from the SL-1000. All right, so this is a GR2. Released in January, it's an upgrade from the SL-1200GR, and there are a bunch of notable upgrades, and some things that have stayed the same almost since the inception of the SL-1200, starting with the tone arm. Although I'm sure it's been upgraded and modified and improved, the general geometry and the layout is the same. It's a 9-inch S-shaped tone arm. This one's made of very lightweight aluminum, an absolutely beautiful piece, high precision bearings, and some options for counterweight so you can mount just about any cartridge in here. It has one of the best VTA adjustments on the market. It's got a locking knob here that allows you to raise and lower it just by twisting this knob. So tremendous tone arm, time again proven. There's been probably millions of these tone arms built over the years, and the reliability is amazing. You should see some of the turntables we get at SkyFi coming back after being in service for 10, 20, 30 years, some of them traveling the world. Somehow those tone arms still work. I've yet to replace a bearing or anything on it. The lever sometimes will break if it really is abused, or maybe the lifter, but the general architecture is just incredibly robust. Things that haven't changed is the use of direct drive motor. Although I don't think Technics invented it, they were certainly the first to market with it back in the 1970s. This omits the use of silly belts and idler pulleys or direct pulleys, and it really is the most reliable drive system out in the market. It does use a bit more of electronics, but electronics nowadays are so incredibly reliable. I've yet to see a failure on the drive motors or anything like that. And you should see what compared to, let's say, a regular manufacturer motor. You know, they use generally, I've seen $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 turntables using a $30 asynchronous motor with a belt. So this is highly engineered solution for a problem that is difficult to solve reliably. Over here we can see the magnetic structure which sits right here. It's attached to the platter, and I'll show you the differences to the G. And here's the motor drive unit. There are coils underneath this plate here that excite that magnet and make it rotate precisely. And it is quartz locked, so it is aware of its own speed and it will adjust and calibrate accordingly, unlike a belt-driven turntable, who is just essentially using the electrical grid to essentially set the speed on a turntable. Model number standpoint, this is the 1200GR2, and also available in black as the 1210GR2. It's a little confusing, but generally in Technics world, the 1210 designates black and the 1200 designates silver, with some exceptions. The thing that hasn't changed since its inception is the use of a removable head shell. This is what brings a lot of people to Technics, is the ability to change cartridges on the fly. Originally it was for DJs, so that in case they sort of broke something, they could get it back and running pretty quickly, but the audiophile community has really embraced it. It allows us to essentially have multiple cartridges available for a single turntable. It allows us to quickly make a swap if we break something. It gives us some really nice options for selecting your own head shell. You can have a mono cartridge in case you have some mono records. You can have a cartridge for 78s. You can have a moving coil and moving magnet, you name it. A ton of fun, and makes it incredibly serviceable. Another thing that hasn't changed is the use of this sort of button layout. It's been around for decades and decades. It's quartz locked. We've got a really cool strobe that's illuminated right from here. We've got the ability to set 3 speeds, both 33, 45, and 78 if we push both buttons together. So that's a really nice addition. That comes and goes throughout the Technics lineup. I've seen that in other turntables, and it's been gone for a few years, then it came back. So I'm glad to see that it's back. This little pop-up light's been here forever as well. It's a nice thing that hasn't changed, and so has the speed controller. And this brings quite a bit of disagreement in the turntable world. A lot of people feel that an audiophile turntable should not have a speed controller on it. It doesn't bother me. It has a button right here to reset it, so you know it's completely out of the loop. So I've also suspected that if we were going to get rid of the slider, we'd also lose the strobe markings, which that would be a real bummer. And when I usually post that to a client who says they don't want a slider, I'm like, well, would you also give up the strobes? Well, that becomes a little bit of a trickier answer. It's not as clear cut. I love the strobe. I love knowing the speed and any variation. I also think it looks cool, so I'm willing to put up with the slider if it means we get the strobe. So I'd love to know your opinion on the pitch adjuster. As you know, the 1500C omitted the pitch adjuster and then also outwent the strobe as well. So a lot of audiophiles complain they shouldn't have this. Why is it there? I'm curious to know whether you'd be willing to give that up if it meant also giving up the stroboscope, which is likely scenario, because if you technically don't need one without the other. So yeah, leave a comment below. I'd love to know your opinion. We could really make a case for Technics on this one. So I appreciate that. Let's talk about the improvements. That's what it's all about. A lot of things have gotten a lot better in this turntable. First, the power supply. Before we were using a fairly old design. Now we're using some pretty upgraded cool technology that has feedback or essentially noise elimination. So it's a multi-stage power supply that is monitoring for noise and applying all sorts of magic in order to remove any noise from it. And that results in a quieter turntable. That's really where the magic happens in turntables, is how quiet can we get this turntable in both motor performance, absorption of vibrations through the ground or through the table, absorption of vibrations through the air in forms of acoustical energy. All those things translate to a polluted or a sort of a dirty noise field. So getting these turntables quiet is paramount, and that's really what allows the music to shine through. So we get a new motor drive controller, which they're naming the Delta Sigma drive. 4th generation. The controller is essentially the device responsible for supplying energy to the motor, which is fairly complex in this turntable. So that's been upgraded to be smoother and more precise than before. The platter itself receives some sort of damping material, so rubberized damping material on the inside. So this is what we call essentially a 2-layer platter. The motor, as I said, is attached to the platter in this case. So, and this weighs in right around 5.5 pounds. Also welcome the nice addition of removable power cord and RCA leads. That's been around for a bit now, but it's been maintained on this model, so we're happy to see that. They're a bit hard to get to, but the nice thing about it, even though they're buried a bit underneath, it does not add any depth to the turntable. If they were going to put the FCA jacks on the outside, it would essentially allow or require more space on turntable shelf. Some of the other improvements are cosmetic. On the silver model, you see it's almost entirely silver throughout the plinth and all the accessories. On the black one, they've gone all black as well. It used to have a few accents parts in silver, but now it is in fact all black, giving it a cooler look, even the tone arm. Now the plinth maintains the same technology and materials. We've got a BMC plastic bottom section, which is incredibly inert and dense. And then we've got a cast aluminum top platter, quite a bit different from the G, but still a very high quality piece on the top. The feet remain plastic, but I suspect they've messed around with the elastomer. On the inside, I can see a little bit of a red material in there. These things are incredibly good at absorbing vibrations, and I'm sure they've dialed them in even further at this point. Here's a look at the connections. IEC power cord, removable, so you've kind of finagle it in there and get it set just right. So you have to refrain from using a super thick or stiff power cord on this piece. And then the RC jacks are here. And these are fairly accessible with a grounding jack right next to it. So all this technology and all these upgrades really result in what I consider to be one of the most robust turntables in the market. With nothing coming even close to this, we're able to calibrate one of these turntables and the G and ship them really across the country, and they hold their calibration just fine. So we can put a bunch of effort at the shop, get it dialed in beautifully, and then ship it out, and a client generally is up and running within 5 minutes. Now we've sold at SkyFi, hundreds of other models over the years, and almost all of them result in some sort of support over the phone of getting a client to properly align an anti-skate weight, or put the arm in place, or sort of do all this calisthenics to get them working properly. We're really good at it, but it is a struggle sometimes, long distance. We resort to FaceTime all the time to try to help clients out. But with the Technics lineup, they're so robust and they travel so well, I almost never hear from clients other than how much they love the turntable. So the arm is shipped actually in place. We don't have to remove anything. We do remove the counterweight, and we generally ship a digital scale so that you have an easier time to just set the tracking force on your own. And other than that, it's really just you stick the platter on, you plug it in, you hit play, and off you go. So we get incredible resilience, and then the operation on it. The start-stop is almost instantaneous. It is absolute delight to use. And it has the ability to sort of adjust to see how quickly you want it to ramp up and how quickly you want it to stop. There are buttons and switches. If you remove the platter, they're in there, where you can make those adjustments if you care to. But from 0 to 33 RPM is literally under 5 seconds, maybe 2-3 seconds tops, and even to go to 45. It's almost instantaneous, which is incredibly amazing and a true testament to the motor technology and the motor drive controller. So at $21.99, which is the current price here at, let's see, we're in May of 2024, it's a tremendous value as far as I'm concerned. Now that will ship with a head shell, but without a cartridge, so you'll need a bit of help possibly figuring out what there are cartridges for you. For that, you can call me at SkyFi Audio, 201-879-0000, extension 101. I'll link below to my contact information. If you just configure this on our website, you will see a pull-down menu for different cartridge options. We carry cartridges from both Sumiko and Hana, which are very, very similar brands. Now, what is the right cartridge for this turntable? For a lot of folks, what I feel the right performance to price ratio is spending somewhere between $800 and $1,200, and the Sumiko Songbird comes to mind, which comes in both high output and low output. That's a tremendous cartridge, and we've got equivalent ones from Hana as well, and I'll put links to those below for you. So go into the configurator or give us a holler, but if you don't want to spend any time researching, go with the Sumiko Songbird. It's really just a great piece, and we've shipped so many of them successfully. For today's video, I brought a Sumiko Starling. This is a more expensive cartridge. This uses a boron cantilever micro-ridge stylus. This is my favorite cartridge from the Sumiko lineup. This is closer to $1,800. Can this turntable support an $1,800 cartridge? Absolutely. It can go way, way past that. So if you really want to take this to the next level, the Sumiko Starling is also a wonderful choice. With regards to the head shell, this does include this Technics OEM head shell, which we like a lot. It's a little finicky to set up, especially the azimuth, because the set screw for the azimuth is below. So it does create quite a bit of work for us to set it properly. There's a lot of going back and forth using our test equipment until we dial it in perfectly. But in terms of weight, position, and geometry, this works really, really well. You can certainly experiment with other head shells, and I'd love to know from you guys what you're using, both in terms of cartridge and head shell. What cartridge you like on your GR2 and what head shell you've used successfully. I'd love to source one sort of like that we can use repeatedly, but the ones I've tried from different sources have always been a disappointment, and we've always gone back to the Technics stock head shell, to the point where we sell it online as well in case you wanted a second cartridge mounted. Before we compare it to the 1200G, there are a couple of ways you can purchase this from us. One is essentially with basic calibration, which is you purchase a cartridge from us or you send us your own cartridge and we'll mount it, set the overhang, and off you go, which is really what most retailers offer. If you look at our competition, they're generally just offering cartridge mounting and very generic calibration. If you want to take this to the next level, past the 90% point, I kind of figured that most clients that have the proper tools and experience can get this dialed in on their own, probably to the 85 to 90% mark. To get to the 100% mark, we've developed a 12-step calibration process, which is available as an option. And highly, highly recommend it if you're buying a turntable from us. We've developed this process with the help of a lot of experts and friends in the industry. And we've used it dozens and dozens of times successfully. So we essentially have a 12-step process that takes measurements and uses some very specialized equipment in order to dial in the geometry, all the forces, and mount the cartridge properly. It's not necessary, but it really is worth it for this sort of level of turntable. There's a link on our website that details a bit more about our 12-step calibration, and it results in a printout that we send along with the table with identifying photographs of the stylus, the angles, the settings for both VTA and anti-skate, etc. So it will come fully documented so you see the results and effort that went into it. All right, now let's start the comparison portion of the video. These two turntables look very similar. The layout is almost exact, the dimensions are all exact, but they differ quite a bit. I left the mat off of this one so it's easier to identify, but let's start with the platter because that's the first place. As you saw before, the GR2 uses a 2-layer platter, so we've got a cast and machined aluminum with a rubberized coating on the underside, while on the G it goes to 3 materials. We've got brass plate, and then we've got the same materials for the platter and the under platter. Quite a bit of difference in weight. I can't remember exactly the differences, but there are in fact, whatever the addition of the brass plate is. And this rotational mass obviously helps with the momentum of the platter. So the heavier it is, the more difficult it is to spin up, but we certainly have enough torque on the G to get it up to speed at the same level of the GR2, and that additional mass does help smooth things out quite a bit. Although the GR2 performs, you can't even measure the differences at this level. Here's a close-up of the underside of the platters. Here we can appreciate both the machine work that goes into adapting to a different style motor on the G. And then I see that this has a sticker that says balanced, and these are balancing holes that are done, drilled out in order to get this platter perfectly balanced. Much like you would do with the wheel in a car on a balancing machine. On the GR2 we don't see that. I don't actually see any markings here, although it could be hidden somewhere underneath this material, but it's not as evident as it is in the G. But the weight is substantial. I mean, it's got to be more than twice its weight. So what does that mean? That means that the platters are going to differ slightly on how inert they are. If I take a metal object, here's the platter from the GR2, and I suspend it, and as long as you just ring it slightly, there's a little bit of a ring to it, but I'm talking minute, a lot less than you would expect. But it's there for a millisecond or two. And the G being several layers and much heavier, it's just a thud. there's nothing to it. And that obviously has its benefits. Mounting underneath is totally different because the motor components are also totally different. This is a motor from a 1200G. So essentially this is sunken into the turntable, and that's why it has a much lower clearance underneath. You can kind of see a bump at the bottom that's bigger than the GR2. And that's because this motor is housed underneath this cover. And over here we see another cast aluminum, highly engineered piece. I wish I had a regular motor to show you the difference from a synchronous turntable or belt-driven turntable, but this is a work of engineering. You can see the coils that create the magnetic field, and then underneath this layer here, the top layer, is the magnet structure, which is what you find on the GR2 attached to the turntable. So on the GR2, that is our motor structure. So the coils are underneath that black plate, and this is the essential magnet with a single rotor. That's this disc right here. On the G, there's a dual rotor motor. You can see one right here at here, and then the other one is on the other side of the gold coils. So the GR2 weighs in roughly around 20 pounds, and the G is almost twice its weight. And it's not all due to just the copper top plate on the platter, but actually the construction of the plinth. Although they look very similar, like in Technics world, you cannot go by what that looks like. The materials are very different. We've got here a machined aluminum, a 10 mil top plate. It's got an exoskeleton that is made out of cast aluminum. Then we've got the BMC material inside as a dampening material, and then some sort of a rubberized casing on the outside. So this is a 3-layer plinth, or considered 3-layered, while the GR2 is considered a 2-layer. And again, the platter is 2 layers versus 3 layers. So that's really the big weight difference. And then the feet itself, these appear to be some sort of plastic, while these are, I think they're magnesium or some exotic metal with a very, very specific rubber compound in it that absorbs incredibly well. Torn arm itself is the same geometry, it's got the same adjustments, but the arm tube itself is made out of magnesium on the G, which is an exotic material, much lighter than the aluminum found on the GR2. So it's a nice upgrade. The thing that's notable between the two turntables is the amount of torque on the G. I don't know if you can make out the strobe light, the third line or the second line, the steady dot is it's holding speed, and I have to apply force in order to get it to lose any speed whatsoever, and I am pushing really hard. I think I'm losing a little skin from my finger. On the GR2, it takes a little bit less force, so it's a testament to the robustness of the motor on the G over the GR2. But if you were to do any of these things with a belt drive turntable, it would probably take you, if you were to press on the platter, the belt would probably pop off, and it would take you 15 minutes to get it back on, and once you got it back on, it would probably take you 60 seconds to get it back up to speed. So I'm being extremely critical here of the drive, but the G does apparently have a stronger motor. What is hard to explain on a video is essentially the fit, finish, and the experience of operating one over the other. This is in fact a premier product. You can see the Technics logo is etched into the brushed aluminum. It feels more substantial, and it operates most smoothly. Part of picking for me a turntable is how do I interact with it? It's one of the few pieces of gear in a HiFi system that you touch routinely, so I like that experience to be as premium as possible. I like nice things, so I've always been gravitated more to the G. You hear me say that in a lot of videos, ultimately the performance of a turntable comes from the cartridge. The turntable's job is to not get in the way of the cartridge. So you could argue that the same cartridge on both turntables is going to give you the same result. I will argue that a lower noise floor, less vibration, smoother operation, is going to translate to some additional performances out of the cartridge. And then the fit and finish is unquestionably very, very different. So in summation, I'm not even sure this is the right comparison. The GR2 is a formidable turntable, but maybe it should be viewed as an upgrade from the 1500C at around $1,200 with a cartridge. You know, if you're in the market for a 1200C and you can stretch to the $21.99 for the GR2, absolutely. Even if you have to skip a couple of meals or get a less expensive cartridge initially, you can always upgrade it, and the fact that it's a removable head shell would make that process much easier. Now, at almost twice the price, the G is really in a different league. So yeah, it might be a more fair comparison to the 1500C. So if you can afford the $41.99 or $42.99, sorry, I'm terrible with numbers, go for the G. Otherwise, I don't think you'll regret the GR. All right, let's talk about upgrades now. First of all, you don't really need anything. These are amazing turntables right out of the box. So if you kind of want to just unpack something, be done with it, you have our permission to do so. But if you like to tweak, there are a lot of fun things you can do, and I get it. A lot of these tweaks in HiFi are really just for the fun of it. I wouldn't expect any great performance improvements, but there are some fun things. Let's start with the feet. These turntables actually don't need any feet. The elastomer that's built into these and engineered into these tables is calibrated to the weight of the table, so I wouldn't touch them at all. You're just going to make it inferior. Now, the old SL-1200 MK2s and 5s benefited from better feet, but these really don't, so don't fuss with them. One of the upgrades I really like is the KEB dampener. There's like a little well that you attach here that essentially is filled with fluid, and I'll post a picture where as the arm sort of comes back and forth, it's dampened by a very high viscosity fluid. So I like that upgrade. It's a couple $100, a lot of fun. Does it add any performance? I don't know, but it certainly makes me feel good about it. Secondly, the cables. While both turntables ship with a pretty decent cable, there are some opportunities there. The tone arm cable is one of the few cables out there that really makes an impact, and it's mostly around noise suppression. So how well the cable is made, how well it's insulated, and what kind of materials they use for insulation can have an effect on the quietness. Now, it's no magic. It's not going to make it sound better, but a tone arm cable of high quality will lower the noise a bit if done correctly. The power cable is up to you. I'm not a big power cable believer, but I like nice things, so I actually have nice power cables on my stuff. I just don't expect a lot from them. Head shells, we've talked about before. The Technics head shell that comes with it is pretty awesome. That's this model right here. You can certainly play with other head shells, but try to keep this weight similar. These turntables or tone arms are tuned to a very specific weight for compliance, so I wouldn't go much heavier or much lighter. I would look up the specs on how many grams this weighs and try to stay within a few grams of that. You can play with the mats, but really the mat, this rubber, high quality, super high quality rubber mat that comes with it is fabulous. It has a great fit. It's got a good, luxurious finish to it. It's pliable. It doesn't get hard over time. That's hard to beat. If I was going to change to something, there are a couple cork mats that I like, but again, they just make me feel good. I don't think there's really any sound difference to them. Let's see, what have I missed? Obviously, there were some power supply upgrades available, but now that with the GR2 has a phenomenal power supply, there's no real reason to mess around with that. I forgot one. My little friend, automatic tone arm lifter. We just started carrying those. Here's a picture of what it looks like. It's a really cool upgrade. It essentially turns the turntable, a really any Technics SL-1200 into a semi-automatic turntable, where as the arm goes to the end groove, the little thing springs into action and lifts it for you. It's called Little Friend. We sell it on our website, and here's a link for you. One thing I tell people all the time, these do come with dust covers, but don't play music with a dust cover in place in the up position. They act like a sail, so all the vibration, all the sort of pressure in the air ends up vibrating the cover, which then translates to vibration onto the table. Now, because the cover is screwed to the back of the table, you're not able to use the feet to absorb that vibration, so it's at the absolute worst place possible. So if you're going to use these tables for serious listening, do take it off. The hinges come off really easily. You just lift on the cover and it comes right up. Okay, so I've taken apart the GR2. It's quite an endeavor. Like all Technics SLs, they use a gazillion screws. But that goes to essentially securing everything as tightly as possible. So let me go through it with you. So this is the die-cast platter that we talked about. This is essentially, I'm sorry, not the platter, but the plinth. This is essentially a die-cast piece made out of aluminum. beautifully engineered, and all the PC boards are attached to it, so it's pretty simple in execution, unlike the earlier SL1200s. Everything is attached to the top plinth. Super high quality PC boards throughout, and components. I can recognize the brand of the capacitors or the resistors and IC chips, and it's all the top-notch stuff. From left to right, we've got the entrance here for the power supply, and this is what they talked about essentially, where they reworked feedback circuitry for eliminating noise. So this is a pretty sophisticated power supply here. Then we get into some of the logic boards. There's our speed controller, and this is the back of the tone arm. So it's a pretty coherent unit. You would remove it by releasing just these 3 screws. So it's neat that the connectors are attached to the bottom of the tone arm. That makes it really easy to switch if you ever had broke it. And then over here we see some auxiliary boards. This is our power switch here. And this is our speed selector, and this is that little illumination, the little light that lights up the stylus for you. And this board here is the Delta Sigma speed controller. You can tell by the connector that was going to the motor before I removed it. So essentially from top down, power supply, power switches, light, speed controller, pitch adjuster, and then the back of the tone arm. All right, taking a closer look at the motor. This is the assembly from the GR2. It's pretty sophisticated yet simple. We've got the bearing unit here. This cast aluminum piece supports the bearing for the spindle, essentially right here. And then we've got the coil structure. These are 9 stator coils. You can kind of see the copper right through the slice here. Essentially, this becomes magnetized and it interacts with the opposite piece on the platter, which is this one. And so essentially, if we just mate them together, this is what comprises the motor. And you can kind of feel how it went in. It attracted each other. So this is essentially the motor assembly here. Comparing that to a motor assembly from a GR2, again, this was attached to the plinth, and the platter doesn't contain anything. The platter essentially screws into the top rotor. So this is a dual rotor design. Let me see if I can show you that view, but you can kind of see here that there's a rotor here, and then there's also a rotor underneath it. And in between it is the 9 coils again. Yep. And so this is essentially mated together at the factory, and I assume that's you get some extra precision in that sense, where the bearing unit, which is here, is attached to the spider to the rest of the motor unit. So it's much more cohesive and probably can hold a holder tolerance, having it be all secured in one shot. And this is the lower plinth. This is that BMC material, some sort of injection molded polymer or plastic, highly engineered. It's super heavy for being an engineered plastic. It almost feels like a cast aluminum, but it's not. It probably has better resonant capabilities than aluminum, and that's why they chosen to do this in this material. So I mean, this has to be probably at least a third or half of the weight of the turntable itself. And you can see they've got some threaded inserts that were molded into it for the feet, and all the holes for all the screws. So pretty neat piece of engineering. I can only imagine what the mold would have cost to injection mold this piece. I did a video a while back, which is also linked below, to the factory techniques. It's an older video, but it does feature the machine that makes these molds. So if you're interested, watch the video. It's absolutely nerdy. It's really the entire manufacturing process in a short, 5-6 minute video. And guys, I opened this for you so that you don't have to. So please, if you have techniques and you're curious to what it looks like, don't crack it open. Leave that to us. There's delicate parts in here. There's high voltage. There's all sorts of risk involved. So I appreciate also your warranty. We don't want to mess with that. So please don't open your units up. You might ask yourself, hey, how come there's so few companies that make a direct drive turntable? Well, take a look at this, the amount of engineering and precision that goes into this. I mean, just to spin the motor, we're dealing with the entire drive controller here and the entire power supply, never mind the motor unit and the platter and the magnetic piece as well. So this is very heavy lifting in terms of engineering, and only a few companies like Panasonic, who owns Technics, can kind of pull this sort of thing out and be able to charge so little for it. You know, if this was someone else that didn't have the manufacturing prowess of Panasonic, this thing would be, you know, $10,000, $15,000. So if I showed you, let's say the motor from, I don't want to mention brands, but let's say any of these belt drive or belt driven tables, you're looking at generally a $30, $35 motor made by Hurst that is synchronized to the frequency of our electric feed into your house. So it's essentially just the motor connected to the grid. There's nothing else to it, and then a belt. So heavy engineering, and this is why you only find it in Technics and a few other brands. This is essentially the bump out for the motor assembly, and they've got 4 screws essentially holding the bottom directly to the motor, which is a great way of kind of binding it all together. There's a set of screws hidden behind the feet, which are threaded inserts, and this is neat. The tone arm base is actually isolated. There's a nice 1/8 inch gap between the tone arm and the bottom cover, which I assume it's part of keeping it isolated from vibrations and other things. So pretty interesting. And here's the power controller, or the power inlet. Now for the fun part, we're going to plug in one of these beauties into my current system. Now my system changes all the time, so don't write to me saying, oh, Fernando, you know, you're touting this, but you're using that. I try things all the time. My system is constantly changing. Right now I've got my Jadis Eurythmy speakers, which is by far one of the coolest speakers ever made, and they sound phenomenal. It's a 4-way horn design with single crossover, and they're so efficient that I'm able to run them with this Alnic T1500 MK2. It's 10 watts per channel, 300B are the tubes on it. So believe it or not, this stupid little tube drives this whole speaker to really good volumes. Sitting next to it is an Alnic phono stage. Does move and coil and move and magnet, obviously. And then lastly, I've got a Fiker turntable. It's a nice piece. It uses a Kuzma arm. The arm's kind of long and it's difficult to maneuver around it. And you might ask, how come I don't have a 1200G? Well, I can't get my hands on one right now. They're all going out to customers, so I'm using this woodpecker until I can finally get my hands on one. So I'm going to go grab the GR2 from over there. I'm going to plug it in here, and we're going to listen to at least one song. have it. I've wasted another perfectly half hour of your time. I do appreciate you watching. I've certainly made a mess of my my shop, but it's been fun sharing this information with you. Again, please subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to me, and give us an opportunity if you're looking to buy any Klipsch, Technics, Sumiko, Hana, and the likes. I appreciate you watching, and check out our website, skyfiaudio.com. There's a link on there at the bottom of our website where you can subscribe to our newsletter. It goes out every Friday with the newest products that arrived, and that way we'll stay in touch. Well, thank you for watching.